The Chronicles of Eldoria, the Shard of Aetheris. Part 1, The Call of the Forgotten Realm. The hero and his aspirations. Beneath the towering spires of the city of Veltran, nestled within a bustling marketplace, lived Kyle, a scrappy orphan with dreams larger than life. Kyle wasn't just another street urchin, he possessed an uncanny knack for unraveling ancient languages and piecing together cryptic riddles. His dreams were filled with tales of forgotten kingdoms, legendary artifacts, and the secrets of the cosmos. Despite his humble beginnings, Kyle believed he was destined for something greater. Kyle worked as an apprentice scribe under Master Thalric, a grouchy historian who grudgingly admitted the boy's brilliance. But Kyle's heart yearned for adventure. His true aspiration was to become a legendary explorer like his late father, who disappeared on a fateful quest to locate the mythical Shard of Aetheris, a relic said to grant mastery over the elements. A magical obstacle or challenge. One fateful evening, as Kyle pored over dusty tomes in the dim candlelight, a strange man cloaked in emerald green entered Master Thalric's study. The man introduced himself as Archmage Villan, a member of the enigmatic Order of the Veil. "I have come for the boy," Villan declared, his voice smooth but commanding. Master Thalric objected, but Villan produced an ancient parchment. On it was a prophecy written in a forgotten tongue, one Kyle had stumbled upon weeks prior and secretly translated. The prophecy spoke of a child of ink and wanderlust destined to reunite the shattered Shard of Aetheris and restore balance to the crumbling magical realm of Eldoria. Kyle protested, claiming he was no hero. But when the sky above Veltran split open, revealing a cascade of swirling ethereal energy, Kyle realized this was no ordinary night. Creatures of shadow began pouring from the rift, wreaking havoc in the streets. "Your city will not survive unless you come with me," Villan urged. Reluctantly, Kyle agreed. A magical helper or object. As Kyle and Villan traveled through a hidden portal into Eldoria, Kyle was introduced to Lyria, a silver-haired elven sorceress with a bow that conjured arrows of pure moonlight. She was the last surviving sentinel of Aetheris, sworn to protect its secrets. But Kyle's most curious companion was an enchanted compass gifted to him by Villan. The compass didn't point north, instead, it guided its holder toward whatever they sought most in their heart. "Let the compass lead, but beware," Villan warned. "It reveals more than just your destination. It may also show your fears, danger or antagonist." Their journey to the Shard's first fragment led them to the ruins of Zyranth Keep, a fortress swallowed by a cursed forest. Here, they encountered the first of their adversaries, Lord Malgarith, a fallen knight corrupted by dark magic. He commanded an army of undead and sought the Shard's power to undo his mortal failures. Malgarith was no ordinary foe. His sword crackled with black lightning, and his words carried a venomous charm that tested Kyle's resolve. "Why chase a destiny that is not yours, boy? Leave the Shard to me, and I shall rewrite your father's fate." Kyle's doubts nearly consumed him, but Lyria's unwavering faith pulled him back. Together, they devised a daring plan. While Lyria engaged Malgarith in a duel of arcane precision, Kyle used his wits to decipher the glyphs that sealed the Shard's fragment within a chamber deep in the keep. The first victory. In a thrilling climax, Kyle retrieved the Shard's fragment just as the keep began collapsing under the strain of unleashed magic. The Shard's fragment pulsed with elemental power, granting Kyle a fleeting vision of his father battling an unknown adversary in a storm of fire and ice. As they escaped the crumbling ruins, Malgarith swore vengeance. "This is but the beginning," he hissed, vanishing into the shadows. The journey ahead. Kyle, now bonded to the shard's fragment, felt its weight not just in his hand but in his soul. The compass glowed faintly, pointing toward the next piece of the shard of Aetheris. Kyle, Lyria said, her voice solemn, this path is fraught with danger. You may lose more than you gain. Kyle's resolve hardened. If my father faced this, so will I. I won't abandon Eldoria. As they ventured deeper into the mystical land, Kyle couldn't help but wonder what other truths and lies the shard would reveal. Part 2, The Web of Deception. The Road Through Shadows. Kyle, Lyria, and Villan journeyed through the wilderness of Eldoria, where the boundaries between reality and magic blurred. The enchanted compass pulsed faintly, leading them toward the second fragment of the shard of Aetheris. Along the way, they passed ancient ruins, shimmering lakes that reflected the skies of other worlds, and villages ravaged by shadow creatures that poured from the widening rift in the heavens. Kyle began to feel the shard's fragment resonate with the energies around him. Strange visions of elemental forces flickered in his dreams, and he sometimes awoke with the faint taste of fire or frost on his tongue. The fragment, though small, seemed to whisper secrets he couldn't yet understand. As they neared the Veilspire Mountains, an old dwarfen trade route emerged from the mist. There, they encountered Darvek Ironfoot, a grizzled dwarfen treasure hunter armed with an arsenal of explosives and a sharp wit. What brings two fancy magicians and a scrappy lad to my mountains? Darvek asked, his eyes narrowing suspiciously. When Kyle explained their quest, Darvek's demeanor shifted. The shard of Aetheris, eh? I've heard the tales. But if you're hunting shards, you'll be needing a guide. These mountains are crawling with things best left unseen. Lyria hesitated to trust the dwarf, but Kyle, desperate for help, convinced her. A magical obstacle or challenge. Their journey led them to a hidden cavern known as the Labyrinth of Echoes, a twisting network of crystalline tunnels said to amplify both sound and magic. Deep within the labyrinth lay the second fragment, but the path was treacherous. The labyrinth tested each traveler in unique ways. For Lyria, it conjured haunting illusions of her fallen sentinel comrades. For Darvek, it whispered promises of unclaimed riches buried in forbidden vaults. Kyle's trial was the most harrowing. As he ventured deeper, he was confronted by a spectral figure of his father, standing amidst a tempest of fire and wind. You think you're ready for this, boy, the apparition snarled. You're not. Turn back before this shard consumes you. Kyle's heart wavered. Could the shard's power twist even his father's soul? Guided by the compass and Lyria's steadying presence, Kyle pushed through the illusions. At the heart of the labyrinth, they found the shard's second fragment encased in a column of ice, guarded by a creature of frost and shadow. The Ice Revenant, a towering figure of jagged ice with glowing blue eyes, spoke with a voice like grinding glaciers. Only those who prove their will may claim the shard. Danger or antagonist? Before Kyle could act, the labyrinth shook with an ominous rumble. Malgarith had returned, accompanied by shadowy wraiths. Did you think you'd escape me so easily, boy? Malgarith taunted, his voice dripping with malice. The ensuing battle was chaotic. Lyria unleashed dazzling waves of moonlight magic, holding off the wraiths, while Darvek's explosives lit the cavern with thunderous flashes. Kyle, driven by desperation, used the shard's first fragment to channel elemental power, summoning a burst of fire that melted the ice encasing the second fragment. But as Kyle reached for the shard, the Ice Revenant attacked. Its frost-bound claws grazed his arm, sending a chilling wave through his body. Kyle, trembling, managed to hold on just long enough to bind the second fragment to the first. The fragments fused, unleashing a pulse of raw magic that drove back Malgarith and shattered the Revenant. A magical twist. As the labyrinth collapsed, Malgarith escaped with a triumphant grin. "You've gained a fragment, but you've lost far more," he called out. Outside the cavern, the group discovered what Malgarith meant. Villan had vanished, leaving behind only his staff and a faint trace of shadowy magic. Kyle was shaken. What if he betrayed us? Or worse, what if Malgarith took him? Lyria placed a hand on Kyle's shoulder. "We'll find him. But for now, the shard must remain our focus." The compass pointed toward the sunlit shores of the glimmering expanse, where the next fragment awaited. The journey ahead. As they camped that night, Kyle examined the two fused fragments. Together, they emitted a faint hum, and when Kyle touched them, he felt a surge of energy unlike anything before. Darvek leaned over, watching the boy with curiosity. "You're carrying something mighty dangerous, lad. Be sure it doesn't carry you." Kyle nodded but remained silent. For all the dangers they faced, he couldn't shake the feeling that the shard was changing him. What secrets did the shard hold? And what had become of Villan? As dawn broke, the companions set out toward the glimmering expanse, knowing that their journey was only growing darker and more perilous. Part 3, The Heart of the Storm. The Descent into Chaos. The journey to the glimmering expanse took Kyle and his companions through the shifting sands of the Zephyr Wastes, a desert where time bent and mirages whispered forgotten truths. Each step brought them closer to the third fragment of the Shard of Aetheris, and to the heart of the storm that threatened all of Eldoria. The compass glowed brighter as they approached a sunlit shoreline. The glimmering expanse was breathtaking, its waters shimmering with golden light. But beneath its beauty lay danger. A city of crystalline towers, known as Solumra, rose from the center of the bay, protected by magical barriers. The shard's third fragment lay within the city's vault of eternity, guarded by the celestial guardians, an ancient order sworn to prevent the shard from falling into the wrong hands. Kyle and his companions would need to prove their worth, and face their darkest truths, to claim it. The test of worthiness. As they approached the city, a golden-haired guardian named Seren met them at the gates. Her voice carried the weight of centuries. "The vault of eternity will open only to those who pass the trial of the soul," Seren explained. "To wield the shard, you must confront your innermost self." The companions were led to a great hall filled with mirrors of liquid light. Each reflected a vision of the beholder's soul, their fears and desires laid bare. Kyle's mirror revealed an unsettling image, himself as a shadowy figure, consumed by the shard's power. Behind him stood his father, unrecognizable, wielding the full shard as a weapon of destruction. "Is this my fate?" Kyle whispered. "No," Lyria said firmly, stepping beside him. "The shard doesn't define you. You do." Their faith in each other allowed them to overcome the trial, and the vault of eternity opened. Inside, the third fragment rested on a pedestal of starlight. Kyle reached for it, his heart pounding. The betrayal unveiled. Before Kyle could touch the shard, the chamber darkened. From the shadows emerged Villan, his face twisted with guilt and anguish. "I didn't want it to come to this," Villan said. "But the shard's power is too great for one boy to wield. Hand over what you've collected, Kyle. It belongs to the Order." Kyle's eyes widened. "You were working against us all along." "No," Villan replied. "I'm trying to save you. The full shard corrupts all who wield it. I've seen it destroy better men than me. Better men than your father. Before Kyle could respond, Malgarith burst into the chamber with his army of wraiths, the black lightning of his sword casting jagged shadows on the walls. You fools squabble over scraps, Malgarith sneered. The shard belongs to me. The final confrontation. Chaos erupted. Lyria's magic and Davek's explosives lit the chamber in bursts of brilliance. Seren and the other guardians joined the fray, their golden spears clashing against Malgaritha's dark forces. Kyle, clutching the two fragments, faced a choice: trust Vilan and surrender the shards, or confront Malgarith and risk everything. I won't let this power destroy me, Kyle said, his voice steady. But I won't let it fall into the wrong hands either. With that, Kyle reached for the third fragment. As the shards fused, a blinding surge of elemental energy swept through the chamber, throwing everyone off their feet. Kyle felt the full force of the shard coursing through him. He became a living conduit of fire, water, wind, and earth. The shard whispered temptations of ultimate power, but Kyle clung to his resolve. Malgarith attacked, his dark sword clashing with Kyle's elemental magic. Their duel shook the chamber, each strike more devastating than the last. You're just a boy. Malgarith roared. And that's why I'll win, Kyle retorted. With a surge of courage, Kyle unleashed the shard's full power, not to destroy Malgarith, but to cleanse him. The dark magic consuming the fallen knight evaporated, leaving behind a broken man who collapsed to his knees. The element of surprise. As the dust settled, Kyle turned to Vilan. You were right about the shard's danger. But it's not the shard that corrupts, it's the hearts of those who wield it. Kyle raised the fully restored shard of Aetheris, and instead of claiming its power, he shattered it once more. The fragments scattered, dissolving into the winds of Eldoria. Why? Vilan asked, astonished. Because no one should hold this power, Kyle replied. The aftermath. The rift in the sky began to close, the balance of Eldoria restored. Seren and the celestial guardians knelt before Kyle, acknowledging his wisdom and courage. You've done what no one else could, Seren said. You've proven that strength comes not from power, but from the heart. Kyle, Lyria, and Davek returned to the mortal realm as heroes. Kyle, now hailed as the bearer of balance, returned to Veltran, but his dreams of adventure remained. I've seen what lies beyond, Kyle told Master Thalric. And there's still so much to uncover. As for the shard's fragments, they became one with the elements, ensuring that their power would serve all of Eldoria, not a single person. The moral of the tale. The Chronicles of Eldoria taught that true strength comes not from wielding power, but from the courage to let it go. Kyle's journey was a reminder that destiny is not written in stone but shaped by the choices we make. The end.